This BMW cost $55,000 new. Today, you can buy it for $14,000. Why it got cheap isn't really the interesting question. Luxury cars depreciate. That's not news to anyone. What's actually interesting is what you're buying when you hand over that $14,000. Because here's the thing. Two people can buy the exact same car, same year, same mileage, same price tag. And 3 years later, one of them has spent $8,000 keeping it running, and the other has spent $31,000. That's not random. It comes down to one decision made before either of them signed anything. And it's not about the model or the year. It's buried in a string of letters and numbers that almost nobody thinks to look up. Let me show you what that decision actually looks like. BMW has always sold itself on one idea: the ultimate driving machine. Not the comfiest car, not the cheapest to run, just the best one to actually drive. And that's not just a slogan. You can measure it. Steering feel, how the chassis balances through a corner, how the throttle responds. It's the stuff people argue about on car forums for hours. For the first few years of a BMW's life, it delivers on that promise completely. Perfect 50-50 weight balance, steering that feels alive in a way most cars just don't, and an inline-six that's genuinely one of the best engines ever built. Anyone who's driven a BMW back-to-back with its German rivals usually notices it right away. The BMW feels like it wants to be driven, not just sat in. That feeling doesn't come cheap to build, and it doesn't get cheap to maintain either. The engineering doesn't disappear as the car gets older. The bill just changes. The same complexity that makes the steering feel telepathic is the same complexity a mechanic now has to untangle by hand. And here's what most people don't realize about that cost. It's not spread evenly across BMW's lineup. It's almost entirely concentrated in one place: what's under the hood. BMW has built a lot of engines over the last 20 years, and for anyone shopping used, they basically sort into 3 groups. Think traffic light. Green means buy with confidence. Amber means buy, but go in with a plan. Red means know exactly what you're getting into before you touch it. Green light first. The naturally aspirated inline-six. No turbo, no carbon buildup from direct injection, a simple cooling system. You'll find it in 3 Series and 5 Series models from 2006 to 2011. It's the last genuinely simple engine BMW made. Average repair bill runs about $1,100 a year. It's not flawless, but it's predictable, and there's a lot to be said for predictable. No turbo to fail, no direct injection carbon problems on the intake valves, just a well-sorted 6 that BMW spent a decade refining. Owners who stay on top of the cooling system routinely push these past 200,000 miles without any major drama. Now the amber light, the turbocharged 4-cylinder. Efficient, capable, and it has one well-known weak spot. Early cars had timing chain failures. Anything built in 2015 or later, once BMW had reworked the chain guides, is a much safer bet. Average repair cost sits around $1,300 a year, but the real advice here is simple. Check the service history before you buy. The failure mode itself isn't a mystery. A stretched chain can jump timing, and in the worst cases, that bends valves. BMW eventually redesigned the chain guides and issued a customer care program extending the warranty on the assembly. A car with documentation of that service is a completely different risk than one with no record at all. And then the red light, the twin-turbo V8. Genuinely incredible performance, but it runs hot. Hot enough that BMW launched a voluntary customer care package covering the injectors, sensors, and the vacuum pump.
A car that went through that program is a known quantity. One that didn't is a gamble. And when that gamble goes wrong, it usually goes wrong in a very expensive way. Part of the problem is layout. The turbos sit in the valley between the cylinder banks instead of outside them, which is great for performance and brutal for heat. That's exactly why BMW had to step in with a repair program covering the parts that take the worst of it: the fuel injectors, the mass airflow sensors, and the vacuum pump managing the system. None of this makes it a bad engine. It just means it punishes anyone who skips the homework and rewards, pretty generously, anyone who doesn't. You'll run into these three engines in almost every used BMW on the market. The naturally aspirated 6 shows up in the 328i, 528i, X3, and Z4 from that era. Its turbocharged replacement is in the same models, just newer years. And the V8 lives in the 550i, 650i, and X550i. If you're shopping any of these, the engine code isn't some footnote buried in the listing. It's the first thing to check. Before the color, before the interior, before the price even, before the mileage. Find what's under the hood first. Get that one thing right, and pretty much everything else about owning a used BMW sorts itself out. Most people check three things when they're buying a used car: mileage, price, and the Carfax. All reasonable. All borrowed from shopping for literally any other car. And none of them tell you the one thing that actually matters here. Take mileage. On a Toyota, 120,000 miles is just a number. On a BMW with the simple 6 and full service records, it's a well-broken-in car that's got plenty left in it. On a V8 with no proof the repair program was ever done, 60,000 miles might be the risky one. Same odometer reading, completely different story. Because it all comes down to what's bolted under the hood. The dealer inspection won't save you here either. BMW-specific diagnostics catch things a general shop scan tool never will. And a $150 check at an independent specialist is honestly the smartest money you'll spend in this whole process. And the price on the listing? It's not the real number. A $14,000 BMW with an undocumented V8 isn't really a $14,000 decision. Realistically, once you factor in likely repairs, it's closer to $35,000 over 5 years. The sticker price tells you what the seller needed to get rid of the car. It doesn't tell you what it's going to cost you. So let's look at 3 people who actually bought one of these. Buyer A found a 2009 328i with the simple 6, 78,000 miles, asking $9,500. Honestly, the hardest part wasn't the purchase. It was finding a clean one. He walked away from 2 listings with gaps in the service history before this one turned up, with full records and nothing weird on the VIN check. Over 5 years, $1,400 a year in insurance, $1,800 a year in routine maintenance, plus one $900 cooling system job and a $700 Vanos fix along the way. Total cost of ownership? $21,000. He sold it for $4,500. Net cost over 5 years? $16,500. For a car that felt like a proper BMW every single day he owned it. That's what the green light looks like when you play it right. Buyer B bought a 2013 550i with the V8, 64,000 miles, no paperwork on the repair program, for $19,500. On paper, it looked like the better deal. Newer, faster, and it cost twice as much when it was new. Nothing in the listing hinted at what was coming. Insurance ran $2,200 a year. Maintenance, $2,800.
Then, year 2 brought a $2,600 injector failure. Year 3, valve cover seals and a cooling system job for $1,900. Year 4, a $1,100 turbo coolant line. All told, $44,100 in ownership costs, and he only got $7,000 back on resale. Net cost, $37,100. Nearly what a brand new Base 3 Series costs. For a used car he paid $19,500 for. The 550i wasn't a bad car. The problem was that 90 grand of German engineering landed on a second owner without the first owner's budget to match. Buyer C bought a 2015 328i with the turbocharged 4, built after 2013, chain already serviced at 49,000 miles, for $14,500. She had it checked by an independent BMW specialist before she signed anything, and she carried a third-party extended warranty the whole time. Not because the car was unreliable, but because uncertainty has a price, and she wasn't interested in paying it later at dealer rates. She spent about $5,000 more up front than Buyer A did. What that bought her was certainty Buyer A didn't need and Buyer B never had. When a repair came up in year 3, the warranty covered it. Nothing out of pocket. All in, her 5-year ownership cost came to $30,100, and she sold it for $7,500. Net cost, $22,600, and she ended up with the exact car she wanted in the first place. $10,000 separated what these three paid up front. $20,000 separated what it actually cost them over 5 years. And the gap ran backwards from what you'd expect. The car didn't decide the outcome. The homework did. Buyer A didn't get lucky. He read one forum thread about engine codes before he ever looked at a listing. Buyer C didn't get lucky either. She paid $150 for an inspection and budgeted for coverage on an engine everyone already knows needs it. Buyer B didn't get unlucky. He just skipped both of those steps on the one engine where skipping them costs the most. There are really 3 things worth doing here, and they only work together. Skip one, and the other 2 won't fully cover you. First, figure out the engine before you even go look at the car. The code's right there in the VIN, and any BMW specialist can decode it in under a minute. Simple 6. Go ahead. Turbo 4, built after 2013, with documented chain service. Proceed, just carefully. V8 with no proof of the repair program. Either price in the cost of a repair or walk. Guessing is never the cheaper option here. Do this from your couch before you've fallen for the listing photos, because once you're standing next to the car, you've already decided you want it. Second, get it inspected by an independent BMW specialist before you sign anything. This item people skip most, usually because it feels redundant after they've already run a Carfax. But a shop that works on BMWs day in and day out can pull fault codes a general mechanic's scanner simply won't show. Codes that flag a problem before it ever becomes something you can feel while driving. $150 and one afternoon can save you $4,000 in the first year alone. It's the cheapest insurance in the entire process, and most people skip it to save $150 on a car they're about to spend thousands more on anyway. Third, if you're buying anything turbocharged with more than 60,000 miles on it, get extended coverage. How much you need scales with how much heat that engine's dealing with. Under a simple 6 with under 90,000 miles, A warranty's optional. The engine's simple enough that you're not really taking on much risk without one. That's not a loophole. It's just what a well-understood engine buys you. With the Turbo 4 and shaky chain history, coverage is a good idea. With the V8, it's not optional. It basically is the purchase. Third-party coverage runs $1,600 to $2,400 a year. One turbo failure at the dealer runs $5,000 to $7,500. Do the math yourself. Pay for the coverage now on your own terms, or pay for the repair later on the dealer's. Get all three right, and you end up owning one of the most rewarding cars you can buy at any price point used. Skip even one, and you end up owning a very good-looking problem, great in the driveway, a lot less great the first time a check engine light comes on with no warranty and no specialist you can call. BMWs spent 60 years earning a reputation as the most driver-focused car in the mainstream market, and that reputation is real. It's also exactly why people walk onto a lot assuming every BMW deserves the same trust. An E93 28i with the simple 6, you can find these for $8,000 to $12,000 right now, is one of the best used car buys on the market, full stop. A 550i with an undocumented V8 at $19,000 is one of the more expensive mistakes you can make. Same badge, $7,000 apart on the sticker, $20,000 apart in what it actually costs you. The badge won't tell you which one you're looking at. The engine will. Every used BMW for sale right now is one of those two cars. The listing won't say which. The VIN will. BMWs don't get expensive because they break down. They get expensive when you buy the wrong one.